For nearly 4 decades, Black Gen X women have been praised for being strong and quietly punished whenever they needed softness. You learned to handle the crisis, raise the family, survive the workplace, and keep moving without letting anybody see the cost. But what looks like independence from the outside may actually be a nervous system that never learned it was safe to rest. Today, we're uncovering the hidden psychology behind that strength, and the one belief many Black Gen X women must finally unlearn to feel free. Where in America are you watching from, and where does your heart still call home? There is a particular kind of silence that Black Gen X women know better than almost anyone. It is the silence of a house in the late afternoon, when you let yourself in with a key hanging from a shoelace around your neck. It is the television playing while no adult is home yet. It is your mother's voice telling you to finish your homework, warm up something to eat, lock the door, and be inside before the streetlights come on. It is the smell of hair grease and the hot comb warming near the stove. It is the unspoken rule that whatever happened behind the front door stayed behind the front door. You learned early that survival did not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looked like knowing not to bother anybody. Sometimes it meant becoming useful before anyone asked. Sometimes it meant reading the mood in a room and becoming strong so quickly that no one noticed you had never been given permission to be a child. Now, decades later, the world sees competence. It sees the woman who remembers every birthday, handles the insurance calls, checks on the auntie nobody else checks on, answers the late-night message from the grown child, and still shows up for work composed. It sees the person people call when something has gone wrong, but what the world often fails to see is that the same resilience that protected you for 40 years may now be cutting into you. You are not weak, you are not becoming lazy, you are not suddenly ungrateful for the life you built. Something deeper is happening. The psychological system that helped you survive childhood, racism, sexism, economic uncertainty, family responsibility, and decades of being underestimated is reaching its limit. Your responsibilities may be multiplying, yet inside, you may feel as though you are slowly disappearing. That feeling is frightening because your life may still look functional. You pay the bills, you answer the calls, you make the appointments, you solve the problems, but some part of you has begun to step backward, as though your mind is saying, I cannot continue carrying this life in the same way. To understand why, return to the girl with the key around her neck. Gen X was often called the latchkey generation, but for many Black girls, being a latchkey child was more than a symbol of the 80s. It was training. Your parents and grandparents were working, surviving, and building stability in a country that did not make stability easy for them. They loved you, but love was often expressed through sacrifice, discipline, preparation, and protection, not constant emotional explanation. You learned to make food, finish chores, watch younger siblings, and solve problems before an adult came home. You learned that needing less made life easier for everybody, and that lesson became a psychological blueprint. Do not depend too much. Do not reveal too much. Do not fall apart where people can see you. Handle it. Psychologists describe one version of this pattern as hyper-independence, the belief that relying on others is unsafe, disappointing, or more exhausting than doing everything yourself. For Black women, that independence often becomes fused with a larger cultural expectation, the strong Black woman. Research on the strong Black woman schema describes a powerful but costly set of expectations. Remain strong in adversity, suppress painful emotions, resist vulnerability, succeed with limited resources, and care for others even when depleted. Those qualities can create extraordinary endurance. They can also make suffering almost invisible. So when you say, I'm fine, it may not mean you are fine. It may mean you do not have the energy to explain what is wrong. When you refuse help, it may not be pride, it may be memory. A memory that says help may arrive late, come with judgment, create another obligation, or fail to arrive at all. If I do not do it, it will not get done, is not merely a sentence. For many Black Gen X women, it became an operating system. The problem is that an operating system built for survival does not automatically update when the emergency changes. Now you are in midlife, and the demands are coming from everywhere. Your children may be grown, but grown does not always mean independent. They may be struggling with rent, anxiety, relationships, or unstable work. At the same time, your parents are aging. The people who once seemed indestructible may now need rides, medication, paperwork, money, and decisions they can no longer make alone. Pew Research has found that more than half of Americans in their 40s are positioned between an aging parent and their own children. But statistics cannot capture what that feels like inside one woman's body. It feels like answering your child's worried call while sitting in a pharmacy parking lot waiting for your mother's prescription. It feels like calculating whether you can help with somebody's rent without delaying your own dental work. It feels like being the emergency contact for multiple generations while wondering who would come if you were the emergency. This is the trap hidden inside being the strong one. The better you become at carrying weight, the more weight people quietly place on you, and eventually, the mind protects itself. You may still perform at a high level, but emotionally, you begin to unplug. You complete the task without feeling present inside it. You drive somewhere and barely remember the route. Someone tells you a long story, and you nod in the right places, but your inner world feels far away. You buy the medicine, send the payment, finish the report, prepare the meal, and then sit in your car because you cannot walk into one more room where somebody needs something. Some people call this high-functioning dissociation. It is not always a formal diagnosis, and it should not be used carelessly. But it describes a real experience. Your body keeps participating in your life while your emotional self retreats beneath the cognitive load. From the outside, you still appear dependable. Inside, you feel like a ghost with a calendar. And because Black women are so often praised for endurance, this disappearance may even be rewarded. People call you amazing. They admire the strength that is quietly consuming you. But here is what no one tells you. The numbness may not be the end of you. It may be the beginning of a rebellion. Somewhere between your mid-40s and mid-50s, the mind and body begin renegotiating every agreement you made with the world. The patience that once seemed endless becomes selective. The roles you performed without question begin to feel unbearable. And the anger that rises when someone asks you to solve one more unnecessary problem may be carrying a message you have postponed for decades. You are not disappearing. The version of you that survived by being endlessly available is beginning to lose control. And that loss of control can feel terrifying, especially when everyone around you benefited from the old version of you. The woman who never complained was convenient. The woman who always found a way was dependable. The woman who answered every call, absorbed every insult, remembered every detail, and carried every emergency made life easier for everybody else. So when she begins to change, people may call her difficult. They may say she has become distant, moody, selfish, bitter, too sensitive, too blunt. They may whisper that she is going through something, as if the problem is that she has suddenly lost her balance. But what if she is finally finding it? Between the mid-40s and mid-50s, many women experience major changes in sleep, stress tolerance, concentration, mood, and emotional regulation as the body moves through perimenopause and menopause. Hormonal shifts can influence the brain systems involved in memory, temperature regulation, motivation, and emotional processing. But it would be a mistake to reduce everything you are feeling to hormones. Your biology may be changing, but so is your tolerance for psychological dishonesty. For decades, you may have used empathy as a survival skill. You anticipated what people needed before they said it. You softened your voice to keep others comfortable. You explained yourself carefully so no one could accuse you of being angry. You smiled through disrespect because you understood the consequences of being labeled difficult in a workplace, a doctor's office, a classroom, or even inside your own family. You learned that a Black woman's emotion could be judged more harshly than the behavior that caused it. So you managed yourself. You edited your frustration. You translated your pain into professionalism. You turned exhaustion into humor. You swallowed the truth, then asked everybody else if they were okay. But the brain and body cannot perform that level of emotional labor forever. Eventually, the part of you that has spent 30 years pleasing, protecting, anticipating, and repairing begins to revolt. That is why a simple question can suddenly feel unbearable. What are we having for dinner? Can you handle this? Did you call them? Can you just help me with one more thing? The question itself may be small, but your nervous system is not responding only to that moment. It is responding to 10,000 moments behind it. 10,000 decisions nobody noticed you made. 10,000 times you remembered what others forgot. 10,000 needs placed in your hands as though your capacity had no limit. The anger is not always about dinner. Sometimes it is grief wearing armor. It is grief for the girl who became responsible too early. Grief for the woman who gave her strongest years to people who praised her sacrifice but rarely protected her. Grief for every version of yourself you postponed because somebody else's crisis appeared more urgent. And now, something inside you is asking a question that may feel almost forbidden. What would happen if I stopped? What would happen if you did not answer immediately? If you allowed the grown adult to solve the problem they created? If you let a family member be disappointed? If you refused to turn your peace into a public resource? For the invisible glue, this can feel like betrayal. You may have been taught that good women keep families together. Strong women do not abandon people. Black women stand in the gap. Mothers sacrifice. Daughters care for their elders. Friends show up. Professionals work twice as hard. There is dignity in loyalty. There is beauty in community. There is power in caring for others. But care without boundaries becomes captivity. And sacrifice without choice eventually becomes resentment. The next stage of your life requires a different kind of strength. Not the strength to carry more, but the strength to put something down while people are still asking you to hold it. That is late-stage sovereignty. It is the moment you stop asking whether other people approve of the way you protect your life. It is the moment your time becomes valuable to you, not only because of what you can accomplish with it, but because it belongs to you. Black Gen X women possess a form of grit, forged in a very specific historical fire. You came of age before social media gave language to every wound. You adapted from analog childhoods to digital workplaces. You navigated changing expectations around race, womanhood, motherhood, marriage, success, and independence while being expected to remain composed through all of it. You know how to survive uncertainty, but survival is not the final destination. The very independence that once isolated you can now become the raw material for freedom. You already know how to make decisions under pressure. You already know how to rebuild. You already know how to stand alone when necessary. The question now is whether you can use those skills not merely to endure another crisis, but to design a life that does not require a crisis to justify your needs. This may mean allowing things to break. Let the group chat become quiet because you did not organize the gathering. Let the holiday look different because you refuse to do all the cooking. Let the capable adult experience the natural consequences of forgetting the appointment. Let the workplace discover that your unpaid emotional labor was holding together a system that never rewarded you for it. Let someone misunderstand your boundary. You do not have to destroy your relationships. You do not have to become cold. You do not have to cut off every person who disappoints you, but you may have to stop rescuing people from the discomfort that teaches them how to respect you. There will be guilt. Guilt often appears when a woman begins doing something healthy that violates an unhealthy expectation. It does not necessarily mean you are doing harm. Sometimes guilt is simply the emotional echo of an old rule. The rule said your value came from usefulness. The new truth is that you have value even when you are resting, unavailable, uncertain, unfinished, or changing your mind. The rule said love meant constant access. The new truth is that love can include limits. The rule said strength meant silence. The new truth is that strength may sound like, I cannot do that. At first, your new boundaries may feel unnatural. You may over-explain them. You may rehearse them in the car. You may feel your heart race when you decline a request. You may spend an entire evening wondering whether you were too harsh. That does not mean the boundary was wrong. It means your nervous system is learning that disagreement is not danger. You are moving from high-functioning dissociation into high-functioning presence. Presence means you are no longer completing your own life from a distance. You are inside your choices. You can feel your anger without letting it consume you. You can acknowledge your exhaustion before it becomes collapse. You can help someone without abandoning yourself. This transition may look like instability to people who were comfortable with your compliance. Let them be confused. You are not having a breakdown because you no longer smile at what hurts you. You are witnessing the breakdown of an identity built around endless accommodation. The world did not always offer Black women a seat at the table, so you built the table, prepared the food, welcomed everybody, solved the conflict, and stayed late to clean up. Now you are realizing something even more powerful. You do not need to spend the rest of your life proving that you deserve to sit there. You are not the chair, you are not the table. You are not the glue holding together every structure that refuses to support you. You are the architect. You decide what remains. You decide what must be rebuilt. You decide which problems deserve your attention and which ones belong to the people who created them. So when you feel yourself pulling away from the noise, do not assume you are disappearing. You may finally be returning to yourself. And when the old fear whispers, everything will fall apart without you, pause and ask a better question. What if some things need to fall apart so you can stop falling apart inside them? If this truth feels familiar, share in the comments the role you are finally ready to release. Not because your story needs to be exposed, but because another Black Gen X woman may read your words and realize she is not alone. And subscribe as we continue exploring the psychology, neuroscience, and quiet boundary shifts shaping the second half of your life. You have spent decades being the fire that kept everyone else warm. Now it is time to become the woman who decides where that fire burns.